But so without further ado, let me introduce our power panel on investment in VR and giving you all the tips and insights. So Mike, let's give him a round of applause, and to all of our panelists who will introduce themselves. Thank you.
Come on. Oh, thanks. So I'm Mike Fischer. I am an angel investor and co-founder of the indie VR developer CloudGate Studio. And previous to that, I was an executive at Square Enix, Microsoft, and Amazon. But these are the real stars of their show. They call this a power panel for a reason. There's an incredibly influential and perceptive group here. If lightning were to hit this stage, VR, as we know it, would be devastated. Hope it hits the podium, then we'll be fine. So I'd like each of you just briefly introduce yourselves. Obviously, Jikhan, you've been introduced, so you're fine. But Marco, we'll start at the end with you.
Okay, Tivitat just left. I'm sort of the VR Fund Part 2. I don't know how much he's talked about it, but we're an early stage venture fund, only investing in AR, VR, MR, or XR companies. We've been one of the most prolific investors in the sector. We started the fund January of last year, 2016. We just closed our 19th investment, and one exit at Tivitat said Alchemy. Very happy about that, and our investment thesis is really seed and Series A stage investments in companies across the landscape that Tivitat was showing, primarily non-hardware side, infrastructure, tools, and content, and industry verticals.
Hi, this is Jikhan Jung. I just had a session, so maybe most of you already know me, but for the new people, I'm the CEO of the game studio called Subdream Studios, and we are making VR games, social VR games. And our team used to be at Colopro NI, which is the Japanese company Colopro US subsidiary, and then we really like the VR, so we spin off to heavily focus on VR games. And as of today, we got $1.5 million of investment from Korea, Japan, and HTC, like hardware, and also the VC in LA. So I can talk about some of the things that I learned during my fundraising process.
Hi, I'm Ohnogi from Gumi. So Gumi is a mobile gaming company, and we have several studios outside of Japan, and then a number of employees are 700. And one of the notable global hit titles is Final Fantasy and Brave Frontier. And then mobile gaming side, we are very successful and very profitable. And then regarding VR side, we started involving back in 2015. And then initially, we joined our wonderful partner, VR Fund, Marco and Tivitat, and then we are working very closely. And then we also established the incubation acceleration program in Tokyo, Seoul, and then recently we started another incubation program in Helsinki. And we also directly invest a company, and then we recently invested a Berlin, Germany-based company called Presnack. And we are trying to just establish in the AR/VR industry. And then I personally, I think I visited more than 15 countries this year, only for the AR/VR space. Take a look. That's why I think I can talk about what we see in the world.
Hi, my name is Daeki from Translink Capital. We are more of a not VR-specific fund, more of a general fund, but VR is definitely one of the domains that we look at mainly. I guess the main unique thing about our fund is that we work with a lot of Asian corporate partners, and the interest in VR AR has been immense from a lot of Asian corporate partners that we usually work with from Korea, Japan, and Greater China areas. We are on our third fund right now based in Palo Alto, mainly focusing on Series A investment opportunities.
So let's jump right in. And some of these questions are going to build on what the last two presenters addressed. But in the last 1 to 2 years, there's been incredible change and also gaps versus predictions. I mean, it's only been roughly a bit more than a year since Oculus and Vive shipped. And we have on the market today Oculus, Vive, PlayStation VR, Gear VR, Daydream. Yet the most successful new entertainment platform was Nintendo Switch, which I don't think a lot of people have predicted. So Daeki, I'll start with you. What has, from your perspective, changed in the environment? And more importantly, how have the changes affected your strategy for investment and what types of ventures you want to invest in?
So maybe I'll just kind of step back a little bit more, even broadly, and just kind of tell you how VCs typically think about different opportunities. And if you look at a lot of these emerging tech opportunities, I mean, VCs like to think ahead, but in reality, it's hard to be like that. So they kind of follow where the market is going towards too. And if you look at a lot of these hot sectors that has come across over the past few years, it's mainly from a major acquisition that has happened. So probably the Oculus deal that has happened a few years ago really kind of started a whole rush of investors to the VR industry. I mean, similar with the auto tech. No one was really looking at the auto tech, but with the Cruise acquisition, everyone's now looking at auto tech. It's like one of the hottest sector right now. So just speaking more broadly, that's how VCs typically think. And I mean, that was the case for a lot of investors, I think, across the world when they started looking into VR probably 2-3 years ago after the Oculus acquisition. And there were, back then, I mean, there were really no market, right? So everyone was basically betting that this initial batch of headsets that are gonna come out really blow a lot of people. And I think there are a set of people who believe in VR, a set of people who don't believe in VR. And I think a lot of people who are investing in VR are believers. But I think even among those believers, some had very high or in some ways very unrealistic expectation of how big this VR market will be in the first year. And it's not a wrong thing, but I think that kind of unrealistic expectation kind of have brought VR companies expectation also in a wrong way in terms of how they can approach fundraising. So if you look at the VR market, I think overall, and it's true for a lot of, not just VR, but across all of the other verticals, the fundraising climate has slowed down in general, except for a few hot sectors. I think VR is one of the sectors that are relatively less affected by it, but I do believe that overall kind of funding climate has slowed down a little bit. And I think that's because they see all these negative media about how many headsets they were expecting to sell and how many headsets have actually been sold. I'm a true believer in VR. I think VR is here to stay, but I do think that there was too much hype in VR that kind of misled people, and that kind of negativity kind of has led some of the investors to step back a little bit from the VR climate.
That's great. Let's just go straight down the line.
Okay, so regarding general investment, I just pass on Marco because he's a more expert. So our gumi, our current investment principle is our gaming company. That's why we only invest in gaming company at the moment. And then since we started to seek in the VR AR gaming company, so we didn't know what kind of game gonna be the mainstream. That's why I just tried all games. But right now we are currently very clear. So we only focus in, it's different, someone have a maybe different opinion, but our main focus is only high-end right now, on Oculus and Vive, maybe PlayStation 4. And it should be more like more realistic game, or like a first-person view. Because I think the most attractive point of the VR is now changing the world. You live this world, but once you wear the headset, it's totally different world. But still feel like very realistic. This should be the most attractive point of the VR. That's why we just focus on high end, and then more like very unbelievable world kind of game is what we're looking for right now. And also, I think in the future, of course, mobile VR is gonna drive the market expansion. But still, as you probably tried mobile VR headset, it's not high quality, not impressive. But in the future, maybe it become machine speaking higher, and then of course the mobile gonna drive the market. So we will see that. But we also started to see like AR games because people are more talking compared with last year, 2 years ago. That's why now we see like high-end VR, also the AR game at the moment.
Yeah, so yes, same line. I feel like the investment in VR seems a little bit slowing down for me, and maybe 3 reasons. First reason, the number of device is estimated, but now we see the reality. And the second reason is that because of a lot of investment happened in 2015, 16, early 16, so naturally speaking, some of the companies not doing well, like other industry. So we see that some companies are closing down. And the third things could be, I think Chinese investors are just too huge and then too much impactful in the global market. And then they've been slowing down from maybe 2015, 16-ish. So that's the other big reason that I'm slowing down the investment in VR, in my point of view. And then as a gaming studio, we adjust our investment strategy, not just investment strategy, but company strategy by shifting our focus from pure VR to VR plus PC or VR plus mobile. That will contribute to two ways. Where one way is that people who hasn't experienced the great experience in VR, they can also experience the great experience in VR by playing both devices. And the other reason is we can enjoy some better revenue opportunities by having the non-VR too.
Just a quick follow-up on some of the regional issues, and this gets back to your presentation as well. I heard from someone in the investment community that a big issue right now is that Chinese government is limiting some of the capital outflows for investment, and that's driving some of the cool down in China. Is that something that you've seen as well?
Yes, okay. I definitely heard that.
Which implies that at some point that could shift again as the regulatory policies change, but maybe no one can predict.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Marco, how about you?
I think you can ignore all these comments. And, look, we have only 6-7 quarters of data. It's not really a trend right now. So if you believe in the transformative power of AR, MR, and XR, we're in the very early stages, right? And obviously, when you have this incredible technology transition, expectations tend to get high, as Daeki was saying, and then the reality kicks in. But you have to sort of take a long-term perspective. And we're coming from, Tip and I coming from mobile gaming, mobile entertainment background. Same thing happened 10 years ago, right? Smartphones came, and then a lot of expectations. Zynga got funded, Kabam got funded, and a lot of game companies funded. And then, there's some failures and successes. And unfortunately, you'll have some fatalities during any sector of the market, but early on, those tend to get more emphasized and amplified. So 6 quarters of data, and last 12 months, around $2 billion in terms of taking out the anomalies. $2 billion investments in sort of general VR, looking at different data like DigiCapital versus Super Data. That's $2 billion in a year sort of time frame versus about 60 to 65 billion annual run rate at U.S. venture market. That's a small fraction. And as he was saying, there's a lot of room to grow. And so that's, from the venture dynamics, we really think we're in the very early stages of it as the companies get more established, and the flight to quality from the both content and infrastructure side will continue. Out of 19 companies, pretty much half of them received follow-on financing, a significant markup and larger capital bases. So the traditional venture interest is now coming to the established companies, and I would say again, out of 19 companies, 8 closed follow-on financing. Most of them are led by traditional venture funds. So, and that's really a great sign, and that also immunizes us from the overseas investors, sort of overpriced and maybe exuberant investment models. From the economic perspective, again, last 12 months, market was about $2 billion. $1.5 billion went to hardware, and $500 million was in software. Out of the software, about 42% went to apps, and then 37% went to location-based entertainment. So apps and which is gaming primarily, and location-based entertainment drive the VR economy right now. And again, we're not counting Niantic numbers. So overall, for our perspective, as market is just evolving right now, and all of our companies, although they start in VR, they have product roadmaps, including AR. For us, devices will sort of converge, and you'll have sort of mixed experience that you can do fully immersive, or you can do AR, or some combination of it. And our investment pace will continue. We invested, again, 19 companies in the last 19 months. We'll probably make another 10, 12 investments in the next 12 months.
So Masaru highlighted the fact that he has a very specific focus and target, looking at games in VR with a focus on the high end. And I do notice the media, and even some of the presentations today, put a lot of binary decisions? Is it mobile or is it high-end? Is it AR? Is it VR? Is it gaming or non-gaming? Is it content or is it technology versus platforms? When you look at investments, do you have a sweet spot that you're looking for? Obviously, Masaru, you do, but for the other three, is anything good to you and you're evaluating everything on its merits, or are there sweet spots or cold spots that you're looking to focus on or avoid in the time ahead? Marco, we'll start with you and come back.
Everything looks good to us. Now, Tipta was saying earlier, we really want to be amazed with the experience. I mean, you see a lot of VR experimentations that, you can still have a quality, similar, app or user experience in 2D. So don't do VR just for the sake of VR, but take advantage of the medium. VR is very different from rectangular. Again, coming from mobile gaming, we've seen similar challenges on PC, console, game designers not really transitioning that incredible experience to small form factor and different asset and resource model. And same thing happens in VR, AR. It's a spherical, audio matters and so forth. So what we look for is, one of it has to be an amazing experience. Like Job Simulator, it was so different, unique, and fresh. Yeah. That we're like, okay, we got to be part of this thing, right? Same with Against Gravity, Rec Room. We love what High Fidelity and AltSpace are doing, and as a social VR platform. But Against Gravity is, you go in Rec Room, there's always a game you can take part in. Join them and play dodgeball or paintball or whatever, right? Or do quests. So that kind of uniqueness we look for on the gaming front. And I also want to make sure that our investments are aligned with market dynamics. We don't want to get into R&D investment. All of our companies are expected to deliver a commercial product within 9 to 12 months after investment. And then beyond that, we'll look at industry sectors. We've been investing in enterprise apps like data visualization and then medical and then infrastructure for horizontal enterprise plays. Those already monetize. Some of our companies are actually close to being profitable.
Excellent. Jikhan?
Yeah, so as a gaming studio-wise, I think the for sure thing is actually, as Tipata mentioned, no mobile VR. I think there is no money there. And then we only did a mobile VR project because the Samsung obviously need a content, and then they want us to make the game for them. So except for those like work for hire or any kind of advanced income situation, I feel like the PC VR is way to go. And especially, as Tipata mentioned, the Steam is pretty lucrative gaming platform. So I think that seems like the best option for the gaming studio. And plus, as Marco mentioned, the VR arcade is one of the places that you can monetize while the consumer is a little bit slow. So if you can make some games that can be played in VR arcade at the same time Steam, that seems like the best way to go. And the VR arcade usually want the game that can be very simple to play, but has a depth and that has a multiplayer. So those things will be the key things that when we design the game. And then in terms of like AR, I feel like it's very early for game studio to make a game for that. So again, maybe if there's any AR platform company want to make a game or contents for them, then we may do that, but it might be very hard to monetize. Yeah, that's our perspective.
So I'm going to tell you in a different way. So back in the smartphone comes up, especially gaming, then many console gaming companies just simply convert the existing console game to the mobile. It doesn't make sense because the console game has a big monitor, also the gamepad, and then they can play. But they just converted a small device and no gamepad, and then user experience-wise, much worse. Yeah. That's why nobody buy it. It's all fail. And then finally, some company find out what is a smartphone-first game. I think Robio is the first one, like a slingshot type of game. And then, but still no monetization mechanics. And then finally, the other companies like Machine Zone, like Supercell made a smartphone-first monetization game. And then I think VR also same things happened already. There's some console gaming companies that simply convert existing game, but VR is actually totally different interface, and it's totally different experience. Why? Then we just find out some companies still, this is our own opinion, but some companies still making game with a game part, but we don't, we actually disagree with that. And because I told you, VR is actually totally different experience, and then users actually not seeing the monitor, the user actually in the game. That's why experience was totally different. That's why gaming developer have to find out what is the best interface at the UI in the VR in the game. That's why we just focus on that one.
Good.
Yeah.
Daeki?
So in terms of what kind of space we look at, I think our investment thesis has shifted a little bit over the past few years. And this is one of the data points, not necessarily what all the investors think. So just take that into your mind. I think what some of the things we're looking into these days are around the enterprises. And I've shared the idea with some other investors in the group as well. It seems like that is the case with some other investors as well. So I think it can be a few of those data points. And I think the reason why is because we've seen the number of headsets that's out there. And I mean, we all, I think, hopefully everyone in this room believe that we'll eventually get to that kind of 100 million headsets out there. But before we get there, I think it will be hard for typical studios to make a lot of money. And while we do have a bet in a content studio ourselves, but I think it has a high beta. And as I think Jikhan mentioned earlier, I guess as a typical Silicon Valley investor, we don't like taking too many high beta risks. On the other hand, I think we've seen some interesting cases where enterprise VR companies are actually making money. Some of the first few VR companies I've met that were making money were these enterprise companies. So I think it's kind of interesting to see what happens over there. Obviously, then, if we're talking about enterprise, AR comes into play, and oftentimes people kind of categorize VR as entertainment, AR as more for enterprise. I think in a big picture, that's probably true, but I do believe that there are some specific VR enterprise applications that are suitable with VR, for instance. A few examples are like Vivid Vision, which Tipita and Marco's fund invested in. They basically use VR headsets to cure lazy eyes. There are other types that use VR for training purpose as well. So I think there are a few applications out there that are suitable for VR as well.
Okay, we only have a short time left, so I'm going to direct the last question just to you, Masaru. Marco mentioned that he's looking for an investment or in a studio that is, do you say 6 to 9 months away from developing a commercial product? Do you have a timeline? Like, what is the right stage for somebody to bring a proposal to you? Do they need working prototype? Do they need to have shipped a product? Or like Marco, can they be 6 to 9 months out?
Basically, I agree with his idea, but we are a little bit longer because it's game and then the VR is very high end. That's why, but still we see that within the 12 months. But we still don't know a year later what's going on. That's why it should be a little bit shorter.
Okay, either Daeki or Jikhan, do either of you disagree or have a different point of view? Marco, do you want to elaborate?
The reason I said what I said was that, and again, you know, mobile gaming is like game as a service, right? You really have a very dynamic user base. You have to do content refresh and updates and monitor user behaviors, and really sort of manage the game to reflect user behaviors and dynamics and insights. So our suggestion to studios that get out there early and learn about user behaviors, because a lot of times you design these in isolation, and when you get out there, users are totally confused with the metaphor, right? They don't understand the progression model, they don't understand the pinch points and all that kind of stuff. So part of the new medium is that you have to learn a lot. So for us, there's incredible benefits from getting out there, iterating, monitoring user behaviors, and updating based on that.
Yeah, so that's what exactly we are doing right now. So in our company, we have a policy that you have to ship the game within 3 months. And then after 3 months, you see the tractions. And if they pass some of the numbers that we set, then we keep developing the games. But otherwise, we go to the next step. That's really
fantastic. Daeki, any other thoughts?
So I totally agree with them. So I think it's important to have traction. And now that we have some data sets, it's relatively small data sets, but there are some data sets out there regarding where all these different kind of game studios are in terms of users and amount of money they're generating. So I think it's important to get out there and then make sure that they get some traction. And I think if we're on the fundraising process as well, I think it's good to have those data sets ready.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I wish we could order a beer and keep the conversation going all day, but I think we have some other speakers who need to go next. So thank you for your time, everybody.